Thank you.
When you spoke to the president, can you finish about this?
Are the changes
Were you grandstanding just now, sir?
for you, Mr. McConaughey? What was your message to the president?
Actor Matthew McConaughey, who is from Uvalde, Texas, spoke out about gun violence in America, especially because it impacted his own hometown where 19 elementary school kids were gunned down by a mass shooter. And as you could hear in that video, a reporter from Newsmax asked him, "Are you grandstanding?" Now, I would venture to say that some people actually have, some emotions, actually are worried about human lives being lost, are concerned about children being gunned down in 4th grade classrooms, and aren't really engaging in grandstanding. In fact, the only grandstanding I see is on behalf of the gun lobby and weapons manufacturers in this country. But the speech that Matthew McConaughey gave, and this was part of a White House press briefing, was pretty powerful. In fact, why don't we go to the next video where he discusses just how important passing common sense gun legislation really is.
We also met Anna and Danilo, the mom and the stepdad of 9-year-old Maite Rodriguez. And Maite wanted to be a marine biologist. She was already in contact with Corpus Christi University of A&M for her future college enrollment. 9 years old. Maite cared for the environment so strongly that when the city asked her mother if they could release some balloons into the sky in her memory, her mom said, "Oh no, Maite wouldn't want to litter." Maite wore green high-top Converse with a heart she had hand-drawn on the right toe because they represented her love of nature. Camilla's got these shoes. Can you show these shoes, please? Wore these every day. Green Converse with a heart on the right toe. These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting.
Well, he used an assault weapon, as you all know, and what that does to a human body, especially a small 4th grade human body, makes the body unrecognizable, to say the least. So I don't know, was he grandstanding when he talked about that? Or should we ignore the fact that these children's bodies were unrecognizable during this mass shooting using a weapon that an 18-year-old should not have had access to?
Yeah, so I'm really worried that the right wing just doesn't have empathy.
They don't. They don't, 0%.
And so what do you do when 40% of the country says, I don't care about your kids? I mean, Tim Pool's going around saying, no, I got a hobby, I don't care. We're gonna have that story later. Later, John Thune, one of the biggest Republican senators in the country, is like, well, we're shooting varmints, so what? So your right to shoot varmint is more important than those 19 kids getting shredded.
Yes, that's what he's saying.
That's literally what they're saying. And so then people say, oh, no, you can't have an honest conversation about this topic because it'll hurt the feelings of the right wing if you call them monsters who don't care about our kids being murdered. Well, what's more important? Whether the right wing gets offended or that poor girl, 9-year-old girl, has so many holes in her body that are so large, they can't even tell who she is except for the sneakers. Remember the other story of the little girl who came out and said she had to cover herself in the blood of her friend so that she could play dead? I care about her and her friend 1 billion times more than the feelings of some scumbag Republican politician who says, yeah, but I got a couple of $1 million from the gun lobby, so no, I'm not gonna do any gun control. I'm gonna let everybody have AR-15s and murder your kids daily. I don't care about your feelings at all.
Are you grandstanding?
No, F Newsmax and F every right winger who thinks, oh, well, I got a hobby, I like having fun outside, and your dead kids don't bother me at all. You're monsters. You're terrible, terrible people. Have I offended you? I don't care at all about you. I care about, by the way, you know what I care about? Your kids. I want to protect them. I want to protect your family, unlike you monsters. I have fun going, and Kyle Rittenhouse put out a video of him shooting this ridiculous machine gun today. We're having fun, man. Joe Biden, come and get it, man. They're still doing it after the dead kids are right there. 10 mass shootings, 10 massacres this weekend, and just as many the weekend before. They don't care about us.
At all.
They just don't. Pass the goddamn laws and do not ever ask a Republican for permission. They're never going to give it to you. They're monsters. And so McConaughey, brilliant, I love it, but he did make a couple of mistakes in my opinion because he's not a politician. So we'll talk about the strategy, but first more on again, I don't want to take anything away from it. It was really important that he do this.
So he was spending, he and his wife have been talking to the families in Uvalde. They've even talked to one of the cosmetologists who's been tasked with preparing the victims' bodies for funerals. And he discusses that in detail in the next video.
We also met a cosmetologist. She was well-versed in mortuary makeup. That's the task of making the victims appear as peaceful and natural as possible for their open casket viewings. These bodies were very different. They needed much more than makeup to be presentable. They needed extensive restoration. Why? Due to the exceptionally large exit wounds of an AR-15 rifle. Most of the body so mutilated that only DNA test or green Converse could identify them.
But bunch of insecure, weak men need those guns for their little hobby. So we can't pass common sense legislation, like just ensuring that if you do buy that gun, you should, be cleared for mental health concerns or any other possible criminal activity in your background. No, we can't have any of that. We like the idea of being able to access these guns, any kind of gun we want, easily with no restrictions whatsoever, even if it means that little children's bodies will end up mutilated by these lunatics accessing the guns that they can get with absolutely no background check, no regulation, no nothing.
So we're going to go to McConaughey's suggestions in a second, and they're really good. But you know what? I'm going to retract something I just said, because as I was thinking about the things that he's proposing, I realized for a lot of them, actually a huge percentage of Republican voters agree. So let me be clear, the Republican politicians and almost every Republican talk show host and pundit, they're the monsters. Because the huge percentage of gun owners and Republican voters say, for God's sake, God damn it, do federal background checks. God damn it, do it already. 88% to 97% according to the polling of all Americans, and giant percentage of Republican voters too. So look, fair is fair. I want to be clear about who I'm calling monsters.
So let's go to the final video, which is about what we should do next. And remember, if I remember correctly, Matthew McConaughey is not some lefty, right? And he was planning on running for governor of Texas, but decided not to for some reason or the other. So he is interested in politics. There has been some commentary about where he stands politically. He's not some progressive, he's not some leftist, but nonetheless, he sees a very real problem, much like most Republican voters do, and he wants solutions. So he talks about that in this next clip.
Look, we heard from so many people, all right? Families of the deceased, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, Texas Rangers, hunters, Border Patrol, and responsible gun owners who won't give up their Second Amendment right to bear arms. And you know what they all said? We want secure and safe schools, and we want gun laws that won't make it so easy for the bad guys to get these damn guns. So, we know it's on the table. We need to invest in mental health care. We need safer schools. We need to restrain sensationalized media coverage. We need to restore our family values. We need to restore our American values. And we need responsible gun ownership. Responsible gun ownership. We need background checks. We need to raise the minimum age to purchase an AR-15 rifle to 21. We need a waiting period for those rifles. We need red flag laws and consequences for those who abuse them.
And he's right about that. But that was exactly what spurred the reaction from James Rosen over at Newsmax, where he shouted at him, are you grandstanding?
So there's a bunch of things he said that I don't agree with. So the holy Second Amendment, I don't think it's holy at all. I think it clearly says it's for a well-regulated militia. I got a question for you guys. Was the Uvalde shooter in a well-regulated militia? No one thinks he was in a well-regulated militia, right? So why was he allowed to own a gun? I rest my case. Second Amendment interpretation right now is horse crap. Okay, I disagree with McConaughey on that. That's fine. He throws in the family values there because he's a little bit right-leaning.
But he's also speaking to, he's speaking to a specific audience, and I think it's important to cater to the kind of messaging that's effective with them.
Yeah, I'm leading up to no problem. Okay, I'll take it. And then there's one critical thing he doesn't get that he's about to get, which is he said, it's okay, let's do this in a bipartisan way, let's get the Republicans to do it. Republicans ain't gonna do nothing, okay? Republican politicians are the bad guys, period. No, it's not about, my side versus his side. No, there are facts. They never vote for any of the things that he just said. So let me just be clear about the 4 things he proposed that the entire country agrees to. Again, normally, by the way, you Washington Turks were the only ones who ever actually call out Republican voters. I don't have any problem doing that, but not in this case. In this case, Republican voters are totally fine, and in fact, they want universal background checks, raising the minimum age for purchasing an AR-15 to 21, a waiting period for AR-15s, and implementation of red flag laws. To me, that's the bare minimum. But everyone agrees to that, except every single Republican politician in the country. Every single one of them says no to each one of those proposals. So for God's sake, if you're a Republican, why don't you ask your senators and your congressmen, I'm in favor of this, 80-90% of Republicans are in favor of this, God damn it, why won't you do it? And the answer is obvious, but that's the one thing that the media is never gonna tell you. It's the money. They take money from the gun lobby. Because if people will say, no, Cenk, you don't understand the culture of America, it's very pro-gun, etc. Then why are so many Republicans in favor of federal background checks? Why are they in favor of the red flag laws? It's not in the culture, that's mythology. That's what the media says to you to distract you from the real issue, which is the money. The Republican senators have taken literally millions of dollars from the gun lobby. Their hands are soaked in blood. So don't tell me that it's even, it's not even. And again, if you watch the Young Turks, we hit the Democrats harder than anybody does. And in this case, they're, as usual, cowards. So no quarter for anyone, okay? But is it the Democrats or the Republicans blocking gun control? It is indisputably the Republicans. The Republican politicians have blood all over their hands, and they're not gonna do a goddamn thing. They're not gonna listen to Matthew McConaughey. They're just gonna send Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and everybody else to go out there and go, no, they're taking away your rights, your rights, your rights. And Tim Pool out there going saying, I don't dead kids. That doesn't bother me at all. I mean, he didn't say that doesn't bother me at all. He just said it's not a concern enough for me to lose my rights to an AR-15 or presumably. And in fact, he did say this in a tweet to me. Or nukes, tanks, nukes, shoulder-fired missiles. The Republicans want to have fun, and if it means your children getting murdered, they don't care. The pundits don't care. And the politicians keep taking the money and they don't care. So be honest about what the real problem is. But I love that McConaughey did this because unfortunately we live in a celebrity culture. If a Democrat had said it, the right wing would never believe it. But if a celebrity who's kind of right wing says it and he throws in family values, they might be like, oh yeah. But you gotta call out the politicians, otherwise nothing's ever gonna get done.